they're not even going to think he's a factor. So even when he does get a good start, they're going to be like, get out of here, man. Like, you're not even in our league. And then Jorge might start to believe that. So this is a slippery slope. The more this happens, the harder it is to climb that mountain again.
Well, they already believe that. Those guys already don't look at the 70 next to him on the starting gate and think this guy's going to challenge me.
JB and AC, the energy was awesome. Those two are just like really finding their groove.
4 straight overall wins. $100,000. Adam Cianciarulla. Checkered flag and Justin Brayton. Cianciarulla has won the 2019 Pro Motocross Championship. He's gonna do it to become the oldest winner in the history of Supercross.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to the AC and JB show. Justin Brayton, how the heck are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. Had a fun weekend. We got some great weather here in North Carolina. It's that time of year, you start to get a little bit warm outside, start to get your tan on. Had my daughter's 11th birthday party.
Okay.
Bunch of kids at the pool, and had a good weekend.
I like that. I got, we talked about my member guest golf tournament. So my buddy AJ that was supposed to do it with me, he ended up having to go. He works for Cobra. He ended up having to go to the US Open. So I was devastated. He texted me on Monday. He's like, dude, I can't make it.
Because he's a great player.
He's a great player.
Yeah,
he's like a 2 handicap. So it would have been perfect. And yeah, he had to bail, had to go to the US Open. And luckily, I was texting friends. I texted my buddy Talon that he just moved to St. George, Utah. And I was like, dude, I will buy you a plane ticket. I will buy you a plane ticket to come here and play this tournament with me, because it's the biggest tournament of the year. So luckily, I found a partner. My partner Phil and I went out there. Had a couple. It's a 3-day deal, and we had 2 good days, 1 bad day in the middle that set us back a little bit. But out of like 100 teams, we were, I think, somewhere in the 30s, maybe. So
that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it. I actually shot 36 on the back 9 my first day. Shot a 78.
There you go.
So yeah, it's pretty good, man. Pretty good. But I will say, every once in a while, there's a race or a track that comes along that I'm like, man, I wish I was out there. And you know how I feel. You know how I feel about the state of Colorado and Thunder Valley. I've just never had better vibes at a racetrack ever in my life. Thunder Valley.
Big Colorado guy.
Oh, the biggest, dude. I'm thinking about moving there, to be honest. But got my first outdoor podium there in 2015. Had a lot of really good, fun races there. Just good memories in general. But wow, that track, that was gnarly, dude. They really let those ruts go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love Colorado. I love that track, Thunder Valley. And honestly, like, I think it's cool how, we had Paula, it's its own track. We've had Hangtown, that's kind of its own track. And now we're starting to go a little further east. We've got some ruts. And I think more than ever, maybe back in the day was quite a bit different. But remember, we went through that phase of, it seemed like every track was kind of prepped the same, and they're hauling in sand and they were digging it deep, and everywhere was the same. We've had 3 very different track conditions so far, and I'm here for it. I love it. I think it's so cool. It's really cool to break down. Like, I like to see, we'll get into it here in a minute, the 250 class, but Hymas and Deegan, totally different types of riding style. It's really obviously favored Hayden the first couple weeks. And then you could see it kind of not favor him so much this weekend in Thunder Valley. Just, you have to be very technical. You have to be patient. And it was catching him out a little bit. So I love that track. I love the track conditions. And then obviously racing at elevation is, it's really difficult. That's the one thing I used to always say, I wish that track was at sea level, because I hated how slow my bike was. I did not like that. Even though 450s are still pretty fast, it was still, I don't know. I just didn't like racing with a slower motorcycle. And I know, AC, you and I disagree on that. You liked it.
I liked it because you could just hold it wide open everywhere, especially on a 250. I
Yeah,
felt
for
like
sure.
Eli.
250.
I felt like Eli Tomac when I raced there on the 250. I never let off the gas, basically. But it's a, that track. It's so easy to override that
Hmm.
track, and watching it on TV this weekend, it's like those ruts, the ruts and the turns. Most of like they didn't have, a lot of them didn't have those. Some did, but a lot of them didn't have those big hooks in them. There was a lot of round ruts, and it basically, the track, the ruts, they beg you to come into the corner as fast as you can
Hmm.
and lean the bike over. And that's what we saw with Eli Tomac in the second moto, and we'll get into that later. But so easy to come into the corners too fast because the ruts are so good. But even Jett said it in the press conference, really easy to grab that, catch your foot peg, grab the fork, and take you to the ground. And I think it's one of those tracks that it begs you to go fast. It begs you to rush it, come to the turns quick, but it pays to be patient. And James and Weege said it a lot on the broadcast, but such an easy track to override. And yeah, one of my favorites. One of my favorites. So technical. You saw the lines. Like if you don't have your lines figured out, it doesn't matter if you're, God himself on a dirt bike. You're still going to get caught. We saw that with AP sitting behind Jett. And yeah, I just love seeing the guys have so many different options.
Hmm.
And there was so much adapting that you have to do throughout the course of that race. And yeah, it was a good one. I really do wish that if I ever come back to do a national, if I ever come back, you know where it's going to be.
Well, you're going to be on a 2-race deal. You're going to race Thunder Valley. You're going to take all the fall off. You're going to start riding again in about February, and then you're going to race Denver Supercross.
Yeah, perfect.
That's your 2 races.
You get a mechanic for me?
I'll be there. I don't
I
know
like
about
that.
mechanic. That's a little above my mechanical skills. So we'll have a mechanic there. I'll pitboard for you though.
Did I tell you I washed my motorcycle?
Well, I actually seen that on social media. You
Yeah.
did wash your motorcycle. How'd it go?
I mean, I put it on a triangle stand. I will say that right off the bat, triangle stand. I don't have a stand. I actually went to the other day. I went to Temecula Motorsports because I don't
Hmm.
have chain loop. I don't have SC1. So I went to Temecula Motorsports, bought chain lube, bought a gas can, bought a stand, the whole deal, dude. So I really feel like I'm making a lot of progress in terms of this whole weekend warrior rider thing.
There's companies out there that would be glad to help Adam Cianciarulo out, right?
Yeah, but sometimes it's like I feel like I've gotten so much. I have so much free stuff and so much support over the years. I'm like, for some chain lube, Maximo is a longtime partner of mine. They were always great to me. Ron Lachine over there, but I'm almost just like, I don't want to be that guy that
Yeah.
that just hits somebody. It's just go to the dealership and buy some chain lube. They were a little surprised to see me in there, but
I
we're ready
love
to
it.
go. I think we're gonna ride again this week. How's your training program going?
I'm hitting the gym hard, but I will say, got to break the news.
Oh boy.
Got a little neck injury. I've got a little pinched nerve.
Oh no.
So we're slowly kind of rehabbing. Got my guy Corey Wharf, who actually has been in the industry for a long time, helped MC and Jimmy Button and Tortelli and a bunch of guys back in the day. He's about 10 minutes up the road from me, so been going in there a few times a week trying to get it right. And it's funny, so I went riding, and like you had mentioned in one of the pods, like you go riding and it comes right back. About 2 or 3 laps in, you feel pretty good. So that's kind of what starts to happen. And then you try to do a 20-minute moto, or you do a 25, and then I got a little pinched nerve. So I need to get my body right and then start riding. So
Where is it? Where's the pinched nerve?
right in between my shoulder blades.
Oh man, I know that pain. I know
Oh,
exactly what you're talking about. I
we're
every
getting better
time
though. We're getting better.
Yeah, and there's something going on with the right side of my neck too. And that's where I'm at. And I was talking about it last week about being overwhelmed by having like so much stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, with my body, man, I do not know where to start. Right now, I'm doing some physical therapy with my shoulders, just trying to get a little more range of motion.
Yeah.
But I've got a plate and 8 screws here. I got screws in my shoulder. I got screws in my ankle. I don't even know where to start. But I will say, for 5 straight days of golf, the body held up pretty good.
Really?
And your boy is not gluten free. I can tell you that. We've been carving it up big time.
That's good. How's our sugar intake? We good? We had to hit some Skittles on the back nine or at the turn.
I've just been mainly hitting the caffeine lately.
Okay.
Yeah, just mainly hitting the caffeine. But enough about my stupid stuff. Let's just get into it right away. Your guy.
Oh,
Your guy.
he looked
The
good.
number 10, dude. Well, how about that Honda out of the gate, bro? I did pulling a start on a Star Yamaha. I mean, there's 15 of those guys out on the track for one, so it's hard. They have strength in numbers there, but
Yeah.
especially at elevation, everybody knows that Star has it dialed more than everybody else in the 250 class,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for Chance to come out after that dumpster fire that was Hangtown, for him to come out 2 hole shots, 1-1. Wow, JB. I'll just let you have the floor on this one.
Well, perfect day. Qualified fastest, both sessions, which it's not out of the ordinary. I'm on public record on this pod saying I do believe that Hymas has the most speed in the 250 class. Not saying he's the best rider, not saying he's the fastest guy for 30 minutes, but I legit think for a lap, I think he's the fastest guy. Now,
Faster than
Hayden's,
Deegs.
yes, I do think for a lap.
Wow.
He's proving it. He's proving it time and time again. He just, that, like I said, it doesn't mean he's better than Deegs. Obviously, Deegs is better than him at the moment and probably will continue to be throughout the season. I think Hayden Deegan is one of the best we've seen. Just his grit, the determination late in the race. We can get into all that. But I think Hymas, for just one lap, has the most speed of any 250 guy out there right now. And so when he qualified fastest, both sessions, I'm like, yeah, all right, done. He's qualified fastest before. But for him to put together 2 motos like that, 2 hole shots, you mentioned that Honda 250 up the hill at elevation, like that was pretty impressive. I will say that was really impressive. And then to lead every lap with some pressure. Now, I don't know if Hayden gets him that first moto. I think it's close because we all know what Hayden's like those last few laps. And just really, really impressed by Chance Hymas. He won a moto there last year, so he obviously feels good there. But I think the biggest thing to highlight for Chance is I think this track, like I said earlier, it really highlights the technical skills on the motorcycle. I think Hymas has it going on. He really does with his technical skills. He obviously rides with Jett and Hunter each and every week, so he's learning day in and day out from them. He's learning how to set up a motorcycle. And I just think if you really noticed his balance, you mentioned the long ruts, you have to have superb balance. He would come into the turns, not too fast, just fast enough, standing up a lot, didn't really bury it too much, just, didn't see many mistakes out of him pretty much all day long. And I really thought it was impressive. Like you said, after you mentioned dumpster fire, I mean, it was a tough weekend. And really, it's been a tough year to start because let's go all the way back during Supercross. AC, we talked off record a lot. You had a lot of questions about the 10.
Huge
A
question.
lot of questions. And I think everybody started to have those questions. And then we're hearing, oh, he's getting ready for motocross early. He's going to come out and try and win this championship. Well, the first 2 rounds didn't go to plan. He's several points down. And if things all go, or if no injuries happen, he doesn't win this outdoor motocross title because Hayden's already got over a moto lead on everybody. So, I think it was great to rebound, but awesome day for the 10. And man, he looked good out front. Got that fly gear on.
And it's gotta bother him too, the first 2 races with Joe doing so well.
Yeah.
And you're off, off the podium, your teammates up there. And I think out of those 2, I think Chance has higher expectations from fans, from the team, just because of what he's shown recently, like in
Mm-hmm.
outdoors last year. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I knew, and that's part of the reasons why I had so many questions in Supercross, is I know how good Chance is.
Yeah.
Like he's shown flashes of like, okay, this guy can be a multi-time champ. And sometimes you see something out of a rider, and even if it's outdoors, like what we saw from Chance last year in outdoors, to me, that kind of talent, that kind of speed, like being that good, you should be able to be that good in Supercross too. With
Mm-hmm.
just with what he's got that type of ability that he can make you kind of scratch your head, like, where did that come from? And so I was a little bit, I know he had a bad offseason. He was hurt, sick, all that. But I was a little bit bummed on his Supercross season just because he showed us how good he could do last summer. And I just wanted him to kind of, I wanted him to be up there more, kind of in the battle more. But I think it shows a lot after not having a great start to outdoors. I think it shows he's got a lot of belief in his own speed and his own self, despite, not opening the season the way that he wanted to. Because, Justin, you know this, you can't be questioning yourself if you're going to go out there, pull both starts, and go 1-1. You have to know that you can do that. You don't just luck into that. It doesn't just happen. Um, so I think that's what Chance really showed me, is that despite not having a great start to the year, not ideal, he still does have that belief in himself. And even you see him after the race too. I saw him talking with Jett, and just, I really like to pay attention to how guys act after the race. And he wasn't surprised.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't, um, he wasn't surprised at all. He expected to be there, and I think that will take him far, and that's what he needs if he's going to be able to do this consistently. Because with how good these guys are now, I feel like, there's times in the 250 class where in the past champions you could get away with being a little bit inconsistent, or getting a bad start, getting a fifth, getting a sixth. But with these guys, Kitchen, Deegan, Shimoda, you have to be up there every moto. You can't get eighth. You can't get 10th. Like, if you want to win the title or you want to contend for the championship, you just can't do that. And so I think he proved a lot to me in terms of how much he believes in himself. And it's nice to see, because so far this season, the only guy in the 250 class prior to Thunder Valley that's looked sure of themselves is Hayden Deegan.
Yeah.
And so we've got Chance Hymas now thrown in the mix. 1-1. That's a good way to get it started. I won that championship in 19, JB, but I never had a 1-1.
Really?
Never.
I didn't
No.
know that.
Always
Yeah.
2-1, 2-1, 3-1. Never a 1-1. So that, yeah, congratulations to Chance. And something I thought was kind of interesting from Hayden on the podium. And I've been, you and I both, man, like, we might get flamed for this one a bit, but you and I both have been very high on Hayden, and for good reason, man. The guy is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I think on the podium, on social media, he kind of went the route of being like, I was a little more sick than I let on. And there's part of me that thinks that's an excuse. Just, you got beat. And then there's part of me that thinks it's also, sometimes guys do this strategically, because if you're Chance Hymas and you see Hayden, you just went 1-1, but Hayden's talking about, man, I was down bad this week. I came in low on energy, all this stuff. It can make Chance, I've been in this position before, it can make Chance go like, man, maybe I didn't beat him at full strength. Maybe that's why. So I think Hayden is just trying to insert some doubt into Chance when he says stuff like that. I don't know if you saw his social post or not, but you have any thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, I think both things can be true. And if you're Hayden or in Hayden's camp, It's exactly what you're telling yourself because it probably is true. But if you're Chance and you're the Honda guys and you're Michael Byrne and all the guys in the Hymas camp, you're saying, nah, he was at full strength. You're the best guy. You beat him every single time you were on the track. You outstarted him. So I actually think both things can be true. We'll never know for sure, but I think Chance was as good as, to win the race at a full strength Hayden. I really do. I think Chance, that track really suits him. And as well as I do, AC, when you go to a track, just like you're saying, when you flew to Thunder Valley, I'm sure you were stoked. You were ready to go. You knew the track was going to be awesome. You felt like you were going to have a good day. And I think that's how Chance probably felt. And also you have to think about they're racing. Really, their mentalities are two totally opposite sides of the spectrum right now. Chance just needs a bounce back. His back is up against the wall. He has to go perform. Now he's going to a track that he really enjoys, he loves. So it's almost like you can ride free because there's nothing to lose. We're thinking about Hayden. He's dominated the first 4 motos of the year. He did sound really sick at Hangtown, but with that, how impressive was that ride? And then how it can be during the week. You're a long flight back from California to Florida, and then you're flying from Florida to Colorado. It can be pretty hectic. And then you're also dealing with the championship pressure, and you got this championship points lead. So your back's not up against the wall. You somewhat have to protect. So I think both things are probably true. But I think Hayden has a lot more to lose at this point, where Chance was just riding on pure adrenaline and also riding purely on the offense. Because if something happened out front, it didn't really matter. And we do have to highlight, how about Hayden limping his bike home in that first moto?
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive, right? Like you have to, well, for one, they had that big of a lead. We should probably talk about that. I mean, the first 2 guys gone. 30 plus seconds, almost 40-second lead. Like that's pretty unheard of. So those 2 guys were the class of the field. So what that did, their pace at the beginning of the moto allowed, I'm not sure, do you know what happened to the bike, or did they say? I didn't really hear exactly. I don't know if we'll ever find out, but obviously it was smoking. Brent Duffy was on the broadcast saying, stay off the clutch and things like that. So obviously something was going on, but he limped it home and was able to still get second. That was pretty impressive.
It was impressive, and Hayden's shown that he's not kind of like Jett. He's not a one-trick pony. You watch him ride, and you see how aggressive he is, and obviously how brash he is off the track and things like that. And you would think, it would kind of, those traits would kind of lend you to think that he can only do things one way. But he's shown time and time again, he gets in situations, he's aggressive, but he's also aware, and he's smart when he's out there, and he knows. And even in this scenario, like him getting second this weekend, I don't mind it for him at all, because that is a track that once you get a little behind and you have to push, you're trying to, and James talked about this on the broadcast, but once you get behind and you're having to push on that track, it can reach up and bite you so fast. So sometimes we are a little bit, I think, harsh on Hayden, because some of the things he says, like how, I guess, how brash he is, but also it's the standard of dominance that he set for himself, right? So it's the same as Jett. When those guys don't win, it's the story, because they are that good. But what I saw between those guys, and I think it could have gone either way. If Hayden gets a start, I think that he could have given him a run. I think passing Hayden is a different story than getting the whole shot and running away from him. Not taking not one single thing away from Chance at all here. Mm-hmm. But what I did love about Chance, and you mentioned it, about balance, but Thunder Valley is all about not upsetting the balance of the motorcycle. And so when you're coming in down these hills, coming into these super deep ruts, the more that you stop your momentum, the harder you are on the brakes. Obviously, the more your front end goes down. And then when you're trying to come from a stop in some of those really tight ruts, and we've seen pretty much all the guys make this mistake, the big hook in the rut or whatever, if you come from stop, you get on the gas, then the rear end sinks down, the front's high, and you're kind of trying to hang on to the bike on the exit of the turns, which is super easy to do. But that's what I thought Chance did better than everybody else in the 250 class this weekend, is in obviously rides with Jett. Jett is the master of this, but you saw him a lot of the times coasting over the braking bumps instead of braking right where everyone else is braking. You saw him go 6 inches to the right or 6 inches to the left of the main line to miss some of those big holes coming into the corner. So I think that I think he had a game plan, and he went out there and executed perfectly from the start. I think more surprising is him getting 2 hole shots than him getting 2 wins, to be real. I mean, that's impressive and really hard to do against those star bikes. So hats off to Chance Hymas, and want to give a shout out also to Casey Cochran. I'm not sure if we've had a little issue with the transponder. There's transponder, some result issues, but I do have in my notes here that he went 13-6 for 6th overall. And Casey and his family moved to Claremont, Florida when I was racing. So I've seen him kind of come up. He rode at the same compound I did. Really talented kid. I golfed with him actually in the off season, and like the very next day is when he had that big injury that forced him to sit out Supercross. But for a young guy that's still developing, doesn't have a lot of base fitness under his belt, I think that second moto for him, very impressive. And we saw some flashes at Hangtown as well. He's a great starter. I think he's starting to see that he belongs up there. And yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Casey, because I think he's got a bright future, JB.
Contract year, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
I believe he's riding for a ride, so that's always motivating. He started up front a couple times at Hangtown and was riding really, really well. I think he has, I'm with you, as a bright future. And hopefully he lands on his feet, maybe stays there. That Rockstar Gas team, not exactly sure what's going to happen there, but him and his teammate Ryder D seem like they find themselves around each other quite a bit.
All the time.
And I was somewhat expecting it at Hangtown, because I believe last year he qualified fastest, had some good rides there. So I'm like, all right, it's one of those tracks that he really, really enjoys. But to have a ride like this, 6th in that second moto, that was pretty awesome. And if you're a team, you're thinking, all right, there's a lot of upside to this kid. He's still really young. And if he can stay injury free, I think he's got a very, very bright future, like you said.
And I always think it's interesting, like whoever's dominating the sport, I feel like they have such an influence on how the younger guys ride the motorcycle.
Totally,
and I could be wrong here, but just watching Casey, watching him grow up on mini bikes, and there's a lot of, I felt like he moved around on the bike a lot. And you watch him now, and the same thing you're talking about with Chance, very kind of knees right over the toes, exactly where they're supposed to be, very neutral on the bike, coasting over a lot of the good with roll speed, not a lot of he's not using a lot of energy. He's riding very efficient. And I think it's just the trickle down effect. When somebody like Jett goes and, starts dominating the game, and everybody wants to learn how to ride like that. I mean, to an extent, it's how it was even, I think, back to when Justin Barcia turned pro, and he was so good right out of the gate, especially in Supercross. It's like all the amateur kids started revving their motorcycles to the moon in the air. So I think Casey's come a long way with his riding style as well. And what's it going to take? What's it going to take for, because this is another guy that I think has championship potential, has the potential to be really good for a long time, even in the premier class. But what is Levi Kitchen missing to be up there? He is so talented on a motorcycle. I love his temperament, very even keel guy. I've told the story a million times, but first time I ever saw him ride, I was doing a riding school with Ryan Villapoto up in Washington. I think it was 2018. Never heard of Levi in my life, but I watched him ride. He was riding a Yamaha 125 at the time. And I was like, who the hell is this kid? Because you could just see it. Like, you could just see it right away. It kind of had that Wyndham vibe to him. Like, just you tell him to do something and he could go out there and do it right away. What's it going to take for Levi Kitchen to make that next step? And because I feel like he can be a Deegan. I feel like he can be one of those guys. I guess I think and feel, but I think that he can be on the podium every weekend, like be winning more races than he is now. And I know he had a rough Supercross, of course, won Detroit, got big crash Daytona injured, coming back, still kind of working his way into it. But I thought solid second moto, getting Joe at the end. He said at the press conference, he said he's never felt so good fitness-wise, like he had so much, felt like he unlocked something at the end of that race. But I'm just wondering, what's it going to take for him to just be the guy?
Yeah, there's a few things. I actually wanted to mention this earlier when we were talking about Hymas. I feel like there's a little bit of a battle of who's next, because we all agree Hayden is the best guy in the 250 class right now.
Yep.
But there's a lot of talk. Maybe he races 250 Supercross next year, then he goes to 450s. So who's the next guy? Hymas wants to be the next guy. Kitchen, I'm with you. I believe that he for sure has all the ingredients. I don't even think he needs anything else, to be honest, to be that guy. Maybe a little more confidence, but who is going to be the next guy? It's a great question. Those two guys, in my opinion, are the two frontrunners right now with Hymas and Kitchen. But I 100% agree with you on everything you said about Kitchen. The thing that I do think right now is that was a big injury. That was a really big crash and a big injury in Daytona. I just think it takes a little time. And
Yeah.
you and I have both been there, coming back from injuries. Okay, maybe not. It sounds like his fitness is great. A lot of times that's the first thing you have to get back is race fitness. You know, we can do 40-minute motos at home in Florida or North Carolina or wherever you are. And then you go do a 35-minute moto at the race and it's totally different. And then you got an hour break and then you got to go do it again. And it feels so different. So that intensity, I think, is the first one to get used to. Sounds like he's used to that. I think he has great speed, which obviously is hard to teach. And I think he has the mentality. I mean, you know him better than I do, but I'm a big fan of his. I love his temperament. Your Wyndham comparison is great. Pretty mellow off the motorcycle, but I think when he puts his helmet on, he's a go-getter, man. He can get after it and be as competitive as anybody out there. So I really believe if I'm a 450 team, I know he just signed a 2-year deal with Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki, but if I'm factory Cowie, I'm slotting out some space right now. I'm literally
Absolutely.
nailing him down. I think he's going to be an amazing 450 rider. And I think the injury, his trajectory probably changed a little bit. And also, this is great to talk about. Maybe the trajectory with Kawasaki changed now that they have Prado, potentially Sexton. We don't know for sure, but there's a lot of talk about him going there. So what does that do for Levi's future? But if I'm a manufacturer right now, obviously he's with Cowie for the next couple of years, but man, I think Levi Kitchen in 3 or 4 years is going to be a great 450 rider.
He's the only thing I actually have in my notes here. I got Kitchen, talent and fitness to win, not missing anything. That's what I have written down right here. And I think, yeah, I remember seeing it Anaheim 2024. I took that race off. I had a broken hand. I remember watching and thinking to myself, this guy can be a 450 champion.
Totally agree.
And so much of it, you know this, and I think so much of it in the sport right now, there's this big surge of like these young guys would chase. And I always trace it back to 2022 outdoors between Tomac and Chase Sexton. I feel like the sport changed right then and there. I really think that everybody had to take a step. And I think so much of it for Levi is being healthy, like you said. And there's nothing that can replace just going out there and racing every weekend. It's really hard to do and I think maybe even sometimes some casual fans would think the opposite. Like you're sitting on the couch, you're resting, you don't have the mental stress of the weekend. And there is something to that. I think in terms of, once we get closer to the playoffs, I think Levi may feel a little more fresh than some of the guys that race Supercross completely. But there's an extra 5%, there, just being comfortable in racing every weekend. So I agree with you. And I think he can do both. I think he's more naturally gifted maybe at Supercross, but I think that he's shown that he can do both, and has the makings of a great 450 guy. So I agree. I watched that guy ride. I watched him at the end of the race this past weekend, and I'm just like, man, this guy's way too good to be going 8-3. I do think as we get a little bit, later into the season, I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win some races, and I think he'll have a strong run in the playoffs if he can stay healthy. But one guy I will say that I was high on coming into the weekend, Levi's teammate, Ty Masterpool. I remember in 2023, my last outdoor season, I'm pretty sure he definitely beat me in a moto. He may have beat me in both motos. I don't know. But I was riding pretty good. I love that place. And Ty Masterpool, from the beginning, I watched him on mini bikes. Unbelievable in the ruts. Talk about roll speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I compare him to like Justin Cooper. Guy's just got a natural feel for it. And I'm not sure what's going on with his fitness, but good first moto. I think he was 4th in the first moto. Second moto threw the anchor bad. But do you think Ty can win a race this year? Won High Point last year?
Yeah, I think he can. I really do. Just the consistency, and lack thereof. There's some things going around. Maybe he was sick this past weekend, even a couple weeks ago at Hangtown, I believe he was sick. So not sure if that's who knows if it's food poisoning, if it's the flu. Like you just never know anymore. But yeah, I think he can. I think he has the skills to do it. Obviously, this year I feel like there's more. He's more likely to do it this year than last year, and he did it last year. So, I mean, with the lack of bike time that he had with the team and everything last year, and to be able to go win Mount Morris like he did, I actually just watched that race a couple weeks ago. That's a great race. It's a really, really good race for Ty to be able to hang on and win it, and get, wasn't it Mitch's 300th win, I believe. I mean, really, really special and a cool story for Ty and his family, and then for Mitch as well. But I think he can. I think it's, if they let Chance get more confidence, obviously Hayden, like the top two guys right now are getting away a little bit. And I think a guy like Levi, he's going to need some starts thrown with him. He's not going to be able to track him down. He doesn't have that much speed. Nobody does, really.
Nobody
right?
does, yeah.
Yeah. So you obviously have to start with him. Can he start up front with him? Ty's a great starter. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to look any further than this weekend in Mount Morris. Did it last year. Can he do it again? Maybe win a moto. I don't know if an overall is in the cards. I think things would have to happen, in his favor, which potentially could. But I definitely think he could get a moto win. Absolutely.
Last point here on the 250s, JB, and you know more about this kid than I do. You spending a lot of time in Australia. I'm yet to visit the continent myself.
Oh, we're going.
Hoping to change that. Hoping to change that real soon. Kayden Minear, Star Racing Yamaha is what maybe their 10th factory 250 guy this year. I don't know. There's 10 bikes on the track, 8, something like that. But super young kid, really impressive. I think second moto, he's running top 10 for quite a while. 11th in the second moto. Yeah, I mean, the kid looked impressive, but I had never heard his name, not one time in my life, until this past Saturday. So
yeah,
give us the details, dude. Who is this kid?
Well, I don't have that many details, but what I will say is two things. The first thing is he goes 1-1 at Hangtown, SMX next, and you're a great one to speak on this. These kids seem more ready than ever. Now, I know I'm asking or talking to somewhat of the wrong guy to win. You won your first Supercross and you had success immediately, but man, it just seems from Cole Davies to Beaumare to now Minear, like these kids are ready, man. The second they line up, it's like, yeah, I'm a pro. And it could be a couple things. Could be he's on a pro team. He rides with the pro guys during the week. It's almost like a plug and play, where before, especially in my day, you turned pro and everything changed. There was a track that you've never ridden before. Now you're on a pro team. You never got treated like this before. You're wearing new gear every weekend. I know it sounds crazy, but like you're getting all this new stuff. And before I had 2 sets of gear for the whole year. Now I'm wearing a new one every single time I'm on the track. It's like you have to get used to all these things, where these kids, they just seem used to it. And that's part of the whole deal with SMX Next. And the first point is, it seems like it's really, really working.
I agree.
I think the proof's in the pudding. The next thing is Kayden Minear. It's interesting because I have spent a little bit of time, not really around him, but I raced in Australia for several years and was able to see him ride. My old mechanic, Brent Duffy, who's now Hayden's mechanic, has been a big Minear fan for a while and seen a lot of talent in him. Now, my last year racing in Australia, he got hurt the first round. And so I just didn't really get to see him much. What I will say is, following Australian motocross and Australian supercross, he's not even the best guy. I think, as good as he is, I think people are missing the boat a little bit on Brody Connolly. Now, last year, Brody would win pretty much everything. And Minear, he was beating Minear time and time again.
Same age?
Brody, I believe, maybe a year or 2 older. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on that.
Makes a big difference. That makes a big difference at this juncture. How old is Minear? 16?
Is he 16? I'm not
16,
sure.
17?
Yeah.
We should probably know this. We're analysts.
Yeah, we should.
We got to know this. Anyway, he's young, but go ahead. Your point.
Yeah. But so then Minear comes over here, wins the second moto of Ironman. It was Combine then. And then Bobby Reagan basically signs him. So, but as he was getting beat by Connolly in Australia, so I still think, for all the teams out there, this isn't to have any knock on Minear. Minear's great. He's going to be great. He's got a deal there at Star. I think it's awesome. But there's a little bit, like, if you're a team out there, don't sleep on Brody Connolly. And I do think Yuriv Konski over there at Quad Lock Honda, I think he's got him locked down, because him and I have talked about this multiple times. And he's like kind of thankful that Brody's went under the radar, but there's still another great, he's actually from New Zealand, but racing in Australia a bunch. So there's some more down under that are potentially coming over here. And yeah, I mean, a great first pro ride. Now the question is, does he stay pro, or does he go back to Loretta's and amateur scene for the rest of the year? You think he just stays pro?
I think he showed he didn't get that much camera time, but I watched him in the second moto, and I think as long as the team and himself is confident that he can go out there and stay within himself, I think sometimes with young kids, I think sometimes you can it's really easy to ride over your head. It really is. And I think the whole point of development, turning pro early, what he's doing now, is to go out there and build and gain experience. But you can't do that if you go out there and you're so frustrated with getting 11th that you pin it before you're ready to pin it. So I think if he can stay within himself, if he's mature enough, disciplined enough to do that, I think he stays. I mean, he didn't go out there, definitely wasn't in a, I thought it was a great performance for, look, it's not how it was 20 years ago, where I think some rookies were expected to come in and win right away. I think the talent level, everybody's so much closer in ability now. I think a top 15, I think that's fine for the first race. As young as he is, he's in a good environment. So, but what's up with all these kids from Australia and New Zealand coming over here and just barking?
It's weird. It goes in waves, huh? We would get that from, remember, there was a big wave, guys from France coming over. You have Porcel and Muscan and guys like that. And then now you got this wave. Well, you had a huge wave from Australia. You had Reedy, Burner, Metcalf, McFarlane. You had a bunch of guys. And then now you have kind of another wave. It went a little bit flat there for a little bit, but now you have a whole nother wave coming. And yeah, it's cool to see. Obviously, they see Jett and Hunter doing their thing, and they strive to do that, and they know it's possible, which I think is cool. I think it's great to look at these guys doing what they're doing. Jett and Hunter going back home to race at Ozx Open last year was really, really cool for these kids just to see like, hey, these guys are human and they grew up where I'm growing up, and I can do that too. You know, I can chase my dream. So I love to see it.
I just wonder, with Star Racing Yamaha, we'll move on to 450s here, but when you have a program that's so clearly, it's been the most consistent, they've won the most. Everybody talks about how good that Yamaha 250 is, now that the 450 as well. But I would love to take a look at like Minear's contract. It's probably like $800 a weekend, and I don't know, a plane ticket. Like I think in the past, anytime there's far and away the best team, you always hear stories of like these contracts just being like, look, man, there's been times I've heard about teams where guys want to pay to be on the team. And I know that's not the case now with where racing is at in general. But man, that Star Racing Yamaha program right now, dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. 10 years ago, I would never I never would have expected what they've built now. And it's pretty cool. I mean, they're snatching all the talent up, dude. Like they just got Landon Gordon too, I believe, Team Green kid. I mean, they're just going after everybody. The budget must be
where's it come from?
I don't know.
Where's the budget come from?
Do you think that they can measure, like, do you think they're really selling enough motorcycles by what they're doing on the track to justify the amount of money that they're spending?
No manufacturer does.
No chance, right?
No.
So I really, yeah. At the end of the day, it's about winning.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
100%.
Bobby Reagan,
Yeah.
he wants to win. Who doesn't? Yeah. So I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they're doing it.
Totally.
Yeah, I really am. But it's pretty incredible how all the young guys that show promise end up on a blue motorcycle at the end of the day. And then you got these like Team Green, Gas, Husqvarna, they come through their amateur program, and then as soon as they're ready to turn pro, it's like the kids are on stars. So, I mean, fair play. If you're out there doing it every weekend, showing you have the best team, the best motorcycle, then that's just what's going to happen. But let's move on to 450s. JB, I mean, what's left to say with Jett? What's left to say? Eli, man, he had a really strong ride going there in the second moto before he tipped over. But I want to start here. In my surprise of maybe the season of the year, Aaron Plessinger, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, where has this like elite speed come from? He has found another gear, and it's what I have written in my notes here, is that with a guy like Aaron, he's got an incredible fan base. He's been pretty durable. He's hasn't had very many injuries. He's out there a lot. He's a reliable top 5 guy. You know, he'll have some slumps here and there, but top 5 guy battling for podiums. I imagine with what he's always kind of been a number 2 guy. You know, he had Chase and Coop. Like, he's always been a number 2 guy. And so what I love about Aaron is that he can make a really, really good living just doing what he does, like being a top 5 guy, showing up every weekend, you know, fan base, everybody. He's going to have a ride as long as he wants to race, if he's as good as he is, you know, a year ago. But he looks over it. Like, he looks over losing. He looks over everybody talking about Eli, Chase, Jett. And I think just with his happy-go-lucky demeanor, it can be so misleading because for him to make the step that he's made, that what he showed us this weekend, I mean, that takes an all-in approach. And he clearly believes in himself enough to put it all on the line to go out there and try to win. I mean, he passed Jett, dude. I would never have expected that to start the season. So I just wanted to give AP his flowers there, because I think for him, I know his second moto is probably not exactly what he wanted, kind of lost the toe, got pulled, but the speed that he showed in Moto 1, Justin, that is that's something special, man. AP's on something.
We got that crossbar, baby. We got them twin walls on the bike. Come on, AC. You know about this.
That's arm pump, dude. That's arm pump. Way
No
too
way.
twin wall, way too rigid, bro. Fat bar only.
I'm dealing with some inner demons right now trying to run the fat bar. Shout out the Renthal. Obviously, the twin walls with the crossbar on it. The fat bar is no crossbar. And I like AP, what he's got going here. He just likes that crossbar for the look. I'm the same way. And he got that crossbar bump. And it bumped him past Jett for a little bit. That's a big bump. But everything you said, I love it, AC. I love to see. And look, anytime AP's on the podium, it's a great interview. He makes you smile, and he can really relate so much to the fans, or the fans can relate to him so much because he's just a good old boy that's really, really good at riding motorcycles. And now he happens to have some more speed in motocross, the most we've ever seen out of the 7. And I love it. I think it's so cool. Going back to Hangtown, I couldn't believe that first moto. I was honest, I could not believe it, just how fast he was going. And now he backs it up in Thunder Valley on a totally different type of track, which I think suits him better. We obviously talk about AC in the ruts, or not AC. Well, we talk about you in the ruts a little bit. You're pretty good in the ruts, obviously. But AP in the ruts, very, very good. But a lot of times we just talk about that for Supercross. Now it's very, very ruddy, and we're going to some more ruddy tracks. I'd love to see him get a win. And yeah, what else can you say? Like, he just makes you smile. You love to see the speed. And you mentioned it last week, from where he was to start that Supercross season, where we're all just scratching our head like, wait a second, 12 months ago, he won a Supercross and he had the red plate for a few weeks. And now he's got a couple DNFs and he's like way outside the top 10 in points. And we're just like, AC, you and I on these broadcast calls for Race Day Live, we're like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, what can you say about AP? No one knows. And then all of a sudden he started to bring it late. So love to see it. But yeah, how do you get that much more speed? Just tells me how comfortable he is with the motorcycle and how well he's gelling with that team. And it's awesome to see. I didn't expect it. It's shocking to me.
And I think with Aaron Plessinger, the biggest thing, and I think one of the reasons why he has such a, and maybe this is obvious, but he has the fan base that he has, is most of the people listening to our show right now, people watching on the weekends, they love dirt bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what they do. That's what they do to go out and have a good time. You go to the track with your buddies, you ride, you watch these guys on the weekend, and it's like I can relate it to like golf for me, for example, because golf is my hobby. It's not what I do. There's not expectations. There's not this and that. I think it's very easy when you've been doing something your whole life, when it's just very easy to get down. It's very easy to kind of be resentful towards the sport, because there's so many in any sport with any athlete, because there's so many ups and downs, and sometimes you're not performing well, sometimes the team's on your ass, sometimes your future's uncertain. But I think what Aaron Plessinger brings to the table for the fans is he is someone that every time you hear him talk, he is genuinely aware of how he's just aware and grateful to be in that position. He clearly likes what he does. And that's rare. That's rare in any sport. I can relate it to golf. For me, I've played with some unbelievable players that I've been bummed because they're just not that into it. That's just what happens. That's human nature. When something becomes your job and it's ups and downs, all that's very easy to lose sight of that. It's and I could say the same thing about guys I watch, on the PGA Tour. I think to myself, well, how could they ever not realize how lucky they are to play this game? But it's not my job, right? So I think that's what AP brings, and what everybody loves about AP is because the fans love to ride more than anything. They love dirt bikes more than anything. And seeing that, it's somebody that's doing it at the top level, that's consistently there week in and week out. always got a smile on his face. I think that just brings so much to the sport. I think. I mean, you never listen to Aaron Plessinger and not just get a little grin. I mean, he's just so clearly stoked to be there, and it's infectious. And um, I think when you're operating from that mindset, I think anything's possible. I wouldn't have thought that Aaron Plessinger is talented enough to, and keep in mind he's unbelievably talented, but I wouldn't think that he is talented enough to go out there and pass Jett or to lead that moto at Hangtown for that long. And don't let that be confused. Like, he's unbelievable, and I know that, but I think that he's surpassing what I thought he could ever do. And I think a large part of that is just attitude, man. I think attitude is everything. And I don't think he limits himself. You know, I don't think that he thinks he's going out there and racing for third. He's just racing to, you know, get behind Eli or Chase or Jett or whoever. And so, yeah, I just got a lot of respect for that and that mindset. And yeah, man, AP, the cowboy, he's so, he never left, but he's so back.
Yeah.
He's so back.
Riding great. And we mentioned just the fans being able to relate and be, you know, see themselves in a guy like AP. It's really hard, even for us, and we raced at the highest level, to be relatable to Jett or even be relatable to Eli Tomac.
Yeah.
They do things on the motorcycle that you and I could not do, and no one maybe will ever be able to do. Where AP, he doesn't do anything on the motorcycle that you're just like, oh my goodness, that just totally blew me away. He does everything very, very well. I think beyond that, his podium interviews and just how he is on social media. I mean, he was doing those country music, you know,
Yeah.
he's singing on Instagram, and then he's, you know, so relatable on the podium. And it goes all the way back to, you know, he's been saying, oh, I'll do it for Dale at Daytona and stuff. And ironically, Earnhardt documentary just came out. And I think that's
Watched
why
it. Unreal.
Dale, what's that?
I watched it. It was so
It's
good.
great. Yeah.
So good.
It's great. But don't you think there's some comparison between those two? Because obviously not just the mustache. AP's got an amazing mustache right now.
Unreal.
Dale Earnhardt had a great mustache as well. So there's that. But there's also, you know, Dale Earnhardt's just on a farm. He's taking care of cattle. He's baling hay. He's doing all these things that a normal person in North Carolina or wherever are doing. And AP just seems like that guy. He's singing country music, driving to the track, just like I did. I didn't post it, but I was doing the same thing. And so is the next guy or girl on the way to work. They're doing that same thing. So I love it. I think it's amazing. And most of the time when you get somebody that is so relatable to the fans, they don't translate to results on Saturday. And when you can get it to do that, I think of a guy like Jeremy McGrath, so relatable, right? It's why he's arguably still one of the biggest stars in our sport, because off the motorcycle without the helmet on, he was so just normal. And now AP is that same way. And now he's getting the results on the track. I think sky's the limit for him, especially if he can continue to get up there and battle guys like Jett, battle guys like Eli, and which I do think he will, and then continue being himself. The last point is, it's very, very hard in the 450 class to stay yourself.
Oh,
AC, you experienced
I
this,
hear
right? It's now there's way more money. There's way more pressure. Now you're potentially starting a family. There's all these other things. So it's really hard not to just clam up and be like, oh, there's so much pressure. Oh, I've got all this money and the team is mad at me and now I've got to do this and my wife's over here and now I've got these kids and there's so much going on.
Races. 31
Yeah, now
races.
you have 31 races. There's so much going on. You can't really act like yourself. For AP still to be the same guy on a Tuesday morning and a Wednesday afternoon as he is on a Saturday afternoon is like, that is the most impressive thing about Aaron Plessinger to me.
And the final point on this that I think is cool and why he relates so much, and it's to your point right there, it's that he knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people in general gravitate towards people that know who they are. Because in today's day and age, with the amount of information that we have at our fingertips all the time, everything is telling us how to be, how, what's the correct way to be. So when you see somebody that so clearly knows who they are on a day in and day, like, it's just, there's like a sense of peace that comes with that, I think. So AP, unbelievable, great weekend. I just thought, I thought we had to start there, but let's go over to Eli Tomac, home race. John was the grand marshal.
That was cool.
Eli's done a lot of really good work at Thunder Valley. He was right there in the second moto. He's almost close enough to make a pass. Just what I talked about at the start of the show, went into that rut a little bit too fast, leaned her over too much, and that was it. And my question to you, JB, and for one, I got to say, for Eli to be at the level he's at right now after the injury in Supercross, the Achilles a couple years ago, just with where he's at in his career, for him to be able to run up front with those guys pretty much straight off the couch, I think unbelievably impressive. And I think he's probably even better than I thought he would be. Like, he hasn't quite closed the deal, but he's been right there. He's shown that he can do it. He gives us something to look forward to every weekend. We don't think that, oh, this is just Jett's show and he's running away with it, right? Eli is still there and he can still do it. My question to you, we saw him crash at second moto Hangtown, kind of uncharacteristic for him. We saw him tip over in the second moto this weekend. Do you think there's an element, do you think that he's pushing harder than he's ever pushed in his career? Like, potentially maybe riding over his head just a little bit because he's having so much fun and because he enjoys this challenge. He looks excited. He looks happy to be there. Love his body language on the bike, off the bike. Like, he's there to win. But he's been pushing, dude. He's been pushing, and those mistakes for Eli, he's been so good throughout the course of his career. When he makes those mistakes, it's like almost a head scratcher because he's been so good previously.
Yeah, I do feel like, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think it's the biggest challenge and the most exciting challenge maybe he's ever had is Jett Lawrence and not trying to ride to his level, because we've seen that Eli can match his speed and his level, but it's everything that Jett has dialed is his starts, his speed, his fitness. And I think Eli's excited to try and crack that code. How am I going to beat him? I'm not really going to beat him with fitness, and that's what I beat a lot of guys with. Not really going to beat him on just pure speed and going beast mode. That's how I've won a lot of races in my career. I can't really do that on him because he's so smart and tactical late in the races, and he's not really going to get tired. Line selection, Jett's so just awesome at that, and being so open-minded in a track like Thunder Valley, you have to always be looking around. It's one of the reasons he got passed by AP was Jett went outside just kind of looking around. Hey, what's this line like? And you have to be forward thinking that, oh, that line's not good right now, but that one's going to come into play in 2 laps from now. And then, okay, this one's going to go away next lap, so I need to start looking for a different line. Jett's great at that. So there's so many things that he's great at. And I think Eli's having fun trying to beat him. And he will beat him. He almost has beat him, obviously hasn't in the past, right? But I'm saying multiple weeks in a row, trying to get up there and battle with him. I think the one thing that is really going to hinder him throughout all season and potentially even into next year is just a track position thing. Like, not having track position on Jett is a massive, massive deal, because to reel him in, pass him, and beat him, I don't know. Has it ever been done? I mean, AP passed him on the weekend but didn't beat him. So I don't know. I don't know if it's even possible at this point. But his starts are incredible. So for Eli, I think he's going to have to start ahead of him, and that's how he's going to beat him. And, so is he riding over his head? No, but I think he's pushing potentially the hardest he's ever had to push to try and beat Jett. And the one thing that I will say to that is, I don't know if we know exactly how much Jett has in the tank.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question to you is, Eli's sitting behind him. Jett's kind of aware of what's going on, and he's losing a little time here and gaining time there. But then as soon as somebody gets up alongside of him, it's like he does this 2 or 3 corner spurt and he gets like 2 seconds. It's like, could he do that the whole lap and get 5 seconds? I doubt it, but I don't think we've truly seen Jett's ceiling, but I think we're going to see it soon because Eli's right there going to push him to it.
Yeah, and that's what's so fun about watching this class right now. And even, we haven't even talked about Hunter Lawrence, Justin Cooper.
They were great
We
as
talked
well.
about AP, but these guys are right there too. I mean, obviously there was a little more gap. There was some more gap this weekend, I think, with just how the track was, like in that second moto there. But these guys, I think between Hunter, Jacob, AP, these guys could also win a moto and get in there. And just watching the first moto this weekend, all those guys kind of in a row like that, I don't know, to me, it's just so cool to see clear. And we talk about it all the time, but to see it so clearly that everyone is getting better too. Like the speed is genuinely, everybody's just had to go to that next level. And like you said about Eli, I mean, when he was on that streak, when he won 3 outdoor titles in a row, I mean, there was times he could start 25th and come through and still win by 15 seconds. And I think he's better now than he was then.
Yeah,
I really do. I think he's better now. And I agree with you on the starts with where the sport is at. You have to, and even on a 250 level, you have to have every little thing dialed in. You can't expect to go out there and get a 10th place start. We talk about with Levi Kitchen or Chance Hymas. Like Chance went 1-1 this weekend, but he gets a 12th place start at High Point, he might get 7th.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have everything dialed in. And I think it's just really in general, the top 3 this weekend. I just watched a press conference. Like all 3 of those guys are stoked to be there. And that is, I think, what's so awesome about this championship and just the sport this year is you have those 3 guys this weekend that are just, they look like they're just really enjoying themselves. And for me, for you and I watching these races on the weekend, I think it makes it that much more engaging when you know that and you see that. And it's fun watching Eli try to figure it out. Like he's doing everything he can. And I think the more chances he can give himself, the more times, even if he doesn't start, I think he's got it in him to pass Jett on any given weekend. But he can't start 6th, use up all those, because it takes 1-2 lap sprints to get around guys like Aaron Plessinger, Justin Cooper, Hunter Lawrence. So he's got to at least start close to Jett in order to kind of continue to learn how to beat this guy, because he kind of has to reverse engineer it.
Yeah, first moto is a prime example, AC, because Eli sat 4th. He was faster than Hunter, but Hunter did a great job of defending the few times that it looked like Eli had him passed. Hunter got him right back. If Eli gets around Hunter, I think he gets potentially by AP, and then maybe gets to Jett, but can he get by Jett? So to your exact point, passing Hunter Lawrence, not easy. Passing Aaron Plessinger, not easy. Passing Justin Cooper, like these guys are all so good. So to use up all that energy and track, and then Jett's maybe 10 seconds up the road at this point. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting. Now, I agree with you. I think Eli can definitely, like, I just picture him. Where was that where he went around the outside of Jett and Supercross? Was it
San Diego?
San Diego. I mean, me and you were just going crazy, right? Just going crazy. So I can see around the outside, I'm just picturing a Millville or a Southwick or something where ET is just wide open around the outside and goes to the lead.
Or how he passed Hunter this weekend where the old mechanics area used to be.
Yeah.
Thunder Valley into that right-hand turn. Eli was that outside. Hunter tried to get him back too, but there's nothing like watching Tomac just railing outside.
Oh,
dude.
It's so fun to watch. So fun to watch. And how about you and I have both been there? How about when Eli is behind you? I mean, it feels like Tyrannosaurus Rex is about to just like gobble you up, dude. It's like a feeling, especially now that he's on the Yamaha, the bike's a little bit louder. But man, I remember even in his Cowie days when he would catch me, and whether it's Supercross or whatever, like you know it's Eli.
Oh
You
yeah.
know it's him by how much throttle he's given that thing. And yeah, it's
And
fun to watch, man. So fun to be a fan right now.
and what's interesting is we talk about why Chance Hymas was so good at a track like this, not upsetting the balance of the bike. Dude, Tomac, he was one of the fastest guys out there doing it the complete opposite way.
Yep.
Like really fast into the turns, really hard braking, hard and short braking, dumping the clutch in the middle of the turns. Like the way he rides the bike, he's got to be so physically strong to do it. But I just think, and this is what I kind of see with Deegan too, is just how he's able to take that style and be good everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think is really impressive because it's just not traditional. You just wouldn't teach somebody to ride a bike that way. So we've talked about it, the difference in riding style, but it's cool. It's one of the favorite things to see every weekend is watching Jett and Eli go the same speed in such a different way. And moving on to Jett, man, I think something that it's almost maybe more impressive to me that he hasn't been as far and away better than everyone else like he was when he first got on the 450 in 2023. Because when you're that good and you're used to winning all the time, he's a great starter, sometimes it's like the racecraft can kind of lag behind because you're not used to racing guys that much. Like think about how many times Jett has just gotten a whole shot and not seen anybody the whole time.
Yeah.
And so what is so impressive to me is that ability. AP passes him, right? And there's no panic. There's no like, I remember when I was an amateur, for example, like I would win a lot. And if somebody passed me, I would be like, what the hell is going on? Like, what the hell is going on? Right. And it's like, I would fall out of my process. And I think for Jett, it's like he's so unbothered by the challenges. He sees the challenge in front of him and just tries to make the best of it. He's so composed emotionally on the bike, even though he's used to, like I said, 17 out of 18 wins in the Premier class and Pro Motocross, which is insane. And
Crazy.
it's a stupid, broken stat. It doesn't make any sense at all. But just the way that he's able to respond, and you said it, have we seen his full potential yet? I'm not sure because I think he gets out front, he gets a 5-second lead, and seems like he just kind of manages it. But just for him to be able to, when everything's not going great, he even said it this weekend in the first moto. There's a lot of times where Aaron had a lot better lines, and for him to just get past, study his lines, sprint back by him, win the race. I think it's impressive how he's able to be that elite with his racecraft despite winning pretty much everything.
Yeah, it almost doesn't seem real. You know, like just how good he is and coming off of an ACL injury and
3
shows
months,
up
dude.
and wins right. Yeah, 3 months off the
Like what?
I mean, it's just, and then every start, like I cannot stress to everyone watching or listening how hard it is just to get a whole shot in a 450 motocross race. Like it takes so much mental focus and so much energy and so much testing and all this to get it right. And he just gets it right time, and Hunter as well. They just get it right time and time again. And then wherever Jett's at on the track, you just can hop around and take some different lines. It makes it look so easy and makes the ruts not look as deep as they actually are because he's so light on the motorcycle. Now they're starting to figure out the bike more and more. They've done some testing, so now he's going to be more comfortable. It just, Adam, it almost doesn't seem real how good he is. And I think it's similar to like Ricky, how good Ricky was, where just time and time again, he would just win no matter what.
Yeah.
Literally no matter what. Or MC in Supercross when he was going on those runs. It was just no matter what, it made it seem easier than it actually is. And maybe in their mind, it is easier. Maybe for a guy like me, it does seem so difficult because I was never able to do it. And maybe I overcomplicated it. And that's where Jett's attitude and kind of his carefree demeanor maybe really helps him when he puts his helmet on. So love to see it. Love that we're witnessing it, and just all of them together. Eli, Jett, Hunter. I think we got to give Hunter some props too. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think Hunter's the best starter in the class right now.
Yeah.
His starts are phenomenal. And I think he's going to get better and better with a little more belief every week. And then obviously Justin Cooper, I feel like he's gotten to a new level.
He's going to
I,
win a moto.
I really do. I think he's gotten to a new level. That first moto was kind of Second moto, it looked like he had a point to prove. And if he can ride with that point to prove, he wins multiple motos this season.
Overall or moto?
I don't know if he wins an overall, man. Jett's too good.
Too good. But I will say, Justin, even in his 250 days, there were a lot of times where he would kind of have. I remember racing him in outdoors. He would, if he had it'd be easy for him to have a couple bad motos in a row, and that's something that I've seen a lot, even in Supercross. When he had a bad race, the way that he bounces back the next weekend, which is, I think, super important because the bad races are going to happen with the amount of talent. There's sometimes you're just not gelling with the bike, the track. It's just going to happen. So I think his ability to, and especially outdoors, it's hard. You got 1 hour. You got 1 hour in between. If the first moto didn't go good, it's really hard to just have a positive attitude, to make the adjustments you need with the bike, your lines, everything, and go out and have a good moto too. So I think he's shown a lot of growth there. And this is going to be my question for you. And actually, before we get to that, I love what we're witnessing right now in the premier class with these guys. It's some of the best racing I've seen. Man, am I bummed to not see Chase Sexton on the track. That sucks.
Yeah.
It just sucks. I know that he's, I haven't really heard too much. He's banged up. Maybe he's going to Cowie. Maybe he's just over it at KTM. Who knows? But I just want to see him out there racing these guys right now. I mean, it's already so good. And I think Chase on his best day can beat both Eli and Jett too. So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of like that what could have been thing. And I think a lot of people were looking forward to the Chase, Eli, and Jett thing. And just a bummer not to see Chase out there.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best, right? We talked so much about, that year when him and Eli were going back and forth and ultimately got decided last moto of the year. Eli Tomac wins the championship. And all we talked about was Chase and his technique and changing the game. And then we didn't get to live that very long because then here comes Jett Lawrence. And I think sometimes it's overshadowed how great Chase is just because of Jett.
Yeah.
And also there is a lot of, mistakes made from Chase that we like to point out, but it's always only because we know how great Chase is. So if he was just out there right now, yes, it would add so much to this series. And I'm going to throw one other name out there. How close are we? We may never see it. We're so close to having a healthy Chase Sexton. And if we had a healthy Ken Roxon on the gate as well, and you had Eli Tomac, and you have Jett Lawrence, and you have Jay Coop and Hunter, and wow. Pretty cool time, which we'll get that in Supercross. But, yeah.
Gosh, do we see? So you saw, I sent you guys a screenshot of we're calling it X now. Some people know it as Twitter. But of Chase's comment, I think Lewis Phillips posted a tweet saying he talked to Ian Harrison, said Chase is going to come back for Southwick. And Chase responded to that. He said, that's false or something.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's pretty, that's some attitude there from Chase. He's normal. He's been very, I think, professional throughout the course of his career. I had him on my Plugged In podcast a couple years ago, and him talking about, him leaving Honda and the reason. He's always been very candid, and I really appreciate that about him. He will tell you, be completely honest with you, even if it's not in his best interest, which I think is super admirable. But yeah, just a kind of a weird scenario right now. We've seen it before. We saw it with Cooper Webb when he was going to Yamaha during the outdoors. He did a few races and then kind of packed it in. So I just really hope that we get to see Chase out there at some point. He's going to want to make a run in the playoffs. So you would think he would want to come back, get some races under his belt, get the momentum going. But that selfishly, man, I just hope to see them all out there.
Yeah, there's obviously some sort of frustration towards the team or the motorcycle. That's the only reason that you would post that or think that. And, we're a little bit more out of it now, and we can kind of see a broader picture. And none of that does anybody any good. And a lot of it comes down to communication. And you just wish that people could sit in the same room and just hash things out and be on the same page. I know there's more to it, but the grass isn't always greener on the other side. That we proved that, with wanting to get out of Honda and now going to KTM. And there's been times where he's looked incredible and we're like, wow, how could you be any better than that? We've seen that a few times in Supercross. And then his last year's motocross season, being the motocross champion, he said multiple times how confident he was with the motorcycle. The motorcycle was great right away. They didn't have to do a lot of testing. Well, now it seems like he's not so happy with the motorcycle. And the animosity between all of it, I hate to see it because the sport is so small. You never know when you're going to work with someone again or need a manufacturer again, or, hey, you know what? That motorcycle was really good. Well, can't go back there because of the way it ended. And I'm just hypothetically speaking on all of it because we've seen it happen over and over in years past. Not with Chase specifically, but you see it happen multiple times throughout the years with several different riders. So I hope that's not the case. I hope that he can get back out there. Naming specifically a race that you're coming back to without disclosing an injury on timelines and stuff. I don't know. There's so many unknowns. I don't want to speculate, but to me, it seems like there's just a lot of frustration from Chase towards the bike or towards the team or something there where I'm not going to expose exactly what's wrong, but I'm definitely not coming back at Southwick like you said, Ian.
Why are we so weird? Like dirt bike riders, and I can't speak to this because I rode the same brand my whole career. But how many guys have you been around that have gone and test rode a bike or, maybe somebody on another team riding a different brand of motorcycle, different manufacturers at the same training compound as you, and you see, the one guy hop on his bike, go out there, ride it around, and come back and say, "This is the best bike I've ever ridden."
It's way better than my
dude. It is rinse and repeat the same thing every single time. And I don't know. Talk about recency bias. I mean, it just happens so many times that I think now, of course, for you and I being on the outside looking in, everything's way easier to see. Yeah. From the outside looking in. You're not in it, and we don't know all the information, all the details, but I think that, I mean, in talking about some frustration, dude, is it time to like hit the panic button a little bit on Prado? Is he stressed right now? Is it
time? I mean, look, I know I said on this very podcast that I'm not going to judge him in 2025, but I'm going to start judging him in 2025. And I'm going to start today. Adam, this isn't good, man.
This is not good, Jamie.
It's not good.
It's not good. And it pains me. It pains me to say it. It really does. Jorge he's a good dude. He's supremely talented. And I'd like to think that he'll figure it out. I think one thing that's difficult is for one, the whole year started off terrible. I mean, he had a crash in the off season, didn't get to put the days in, at the Supercross track. Plan for Supercross. Everybody's saying just race, like just go out there and do laps. Just go out there and do laps. Gets her to Anaheim too. He's out, and then comes back. Not too much time on the bike for outdoors here. And one thing I have heard about Jorge is he rides the bike. He rides the bike a little, and some guys do this. And Ken Roxon is a great example of this. So I've seen this plenty of times. Ryan Villapoto, I've seen this plenty of times, where they don't give everything they have during the week because they have so much confidence that they can go and do it on the weekends, that they like to mitigate the risk during the week and not go to that 100%, around that 80-90% mode. And I think that's kind of what's caught Jorge out a little bit in terms of the bike setup, in terms of the suspension in general. Is you go to a race, the intensity's high, all of a sudden you're pushing way harder than you did during the week. Well, the bike's not going to work the same, of course. And after, I was a little bit surprised after Hangtown. You don't hear this often. You really don't hear 450 factory guys say that the bike is slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's catching a lot of heat right now too, because of some of the off-season like interviews, like the one that he did with Gypsy, where he's talking about, I can beat these guys, like I can beat Jett. And it's so early. I get it. It's 3 rounds in, and I by no means, somebody with his pedigree, and I've talked about it. I talked about it on Race Day Live a bunch. I think that he's got a winner's mentality. I think he's got a good attitude. And I do think he's capable of a lot more than he's doing right now. But I imagine he's starting to come under some fire right now. Team, fans, the whole deal. He's one of those guys, just like we talk about with Chase or anyone else, that he is so good. He is so good. He's set the standard for himself. Jorge, as soon as he turned pro, basically, in Europe, he was winning. Moved up to MXGP Class 1. Championships. And so for him coming over here, kind of unprecedented for someone his age to come over straight to the Premier Class, straight to Supercross. Not going great so far, Justin. But I guess we just gotta get him a free pass this season. We gotta trust that he's gonna figure it out, and maybe it'll just take I think the biggest thing that surprised me is he hasn't been up there in the starts. Like he hasn't. He must have not found a setting that he likes, or maybe he gets a start at a track he feels comfortable with. Could be this weekend. Maybe he gets a start, runs up there for 10 minutes, and that's all he needs to get some confidence and get it moving in the right direction. But so far not the season he would have hoped for, I think.
Well, I know it's only been 3 races, but it's been more than that. It's been 2 qualifying sessions. It's been 2 motos each weekend, and there just hasn't been anything. That's the part that I have a little bit of an issue with, is there hasn't been a great start. There hasn't been a good qualifying session. And the one thing that told me the most about Jorge Prado was this weekend I was watching qualifying, and he was 41st. He was going to the last chance qualifier until like 3 minutes to go in the final qualifying session. And when it would, Weege and Stu were covering it, and they're like, man, he's got to get going. And there was 0 sense of urgency. And I'm like, that just tells me that something's up. There wasn't, when you're feeling good on your motorcycle and you're happy with your bike, you just keep doing laps, man, because you're having so much fun. You're like, oh man, I'm going to take that outside and I'm going to go over here. And he would start a lap and then stop. Start another lap, make a mistake, and then stop. And he was literally going to last chance qualifier AC. I'm like, man, this is not good. So his demeanor on the motorcycle really told me a lot about where he was and how he's feeling on the bike. And, I just think it's a slippery slope when you're Monster Kawasaki and you're paying him millions of dollars. And then you're Jorge Prado, who's won a lot of championships. We've talked about it a lot. That's what he does. He wins. So he's frustrated. The team starts to get frustrated. Now they're asking themselves questions internally. Jorge and his group are asking themselves questions. Jorge's, laying his head on the pillow at night thinking, man, did I make the wrong decision? Is the bike as good as I thought it was when I rode it, last year before I signed the contract or whatever? Everybody starts to ask questions, and then communication starts to break down. I hope that doesn't happen, because like I said a couple weeks ago, I want to give him a free pass for 2025, but you have to see some progression, some positives, a positive qualifying session, a whole shot and lead 2 laps.
Yeah.
Do what Cody Schock did in the second moto, whole shot and lead a couple laps.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we want to see. And then if you crash, like, so be it. I just want to see something. So yeah, I mean, that group, that motorcycle, it's obviously capable of winning. I mean, their history speaks for itself. You talk about RC and Stu and RV and yourself and Jason just a couple years ago winning so many races. So yeah, he's got everything to do it. I just don't think he's found the right recipes, but we're not even talking about battling Jett. Let's get up and battle. I mean,
Cooper Webb,
right? Coop's
even
having
Coop.
some fun out there.
Even Coop is like, I think after round 1, Coop was like, oh my God, I was ahead of Jorge. Like, it's pretty kind of surprising, right? I think anytime, and I get it, and I applaud Jorge for being himself, and I'll always respect that, right? But when you talk, I remember Chase Sexton commenting under the post, a Gypsy Tales post, about him. He's going to come over here and win races, and that's the way you got to think. I mean, if you're going to compete at this level, you got to have that confidence in yourself. But I think that just put him in a tough spot with some of the fan reaction and things like that. And one thing I will say with Kawasaki, I know those guys. I know that group. Oscar, it was my crew chief for many years. Dan Fahey, team manager, Theo in there, Kaipo. Those guys are willing to accommodate his needs. Like, they're willing to go in the direction that he wants to go in. I know that. So I don't have any doubt that the team and the bike is capable of doing, like, I don't think he's going to beat Jett or Eli, but I think that the bike is definitely capable of being like a consistent podium motorcycle. But I think it starts during the week. Like, you got to go out there and you got to put it all, you got to ride with the same amount of intensity. And maybe, he's also learning all this stuff too. I mean, he was surprised even after round 1 of like just how quick everything happens. I mean, race day, Justin, on Saturday, Pro Motocross, you wake up at 5 a.m. Most of the time we're in the middle of nowhere trying to go find a breakfast spot, get to the track, and it's just wide open all day. So big difference there. I'm not ready to write him off yet completely. I still think he can get some, potentially some podiums, but you're right. Like, he had that 5th in the second moto at Hangtown. That was pretty good, but we just need to see a little bit more flashes out of Jorge, because, here's the important part, because he's that good. He is that good. He is an amazing rider. And that's why you and I are like, come on, Jorge, show us something, because he's a winner, he's a champion, and he can do it. And he's got the bike to do it. So I genuinely am cheering for the guy. I know he did come over here. I'll say it. He came over here, broke my hand for 12th in the last turn at Anaheim 1, took my ride, took my gear deal.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, I'm an unbiased analyst. Now, I like Jorge as a person. I did a sit-down interview with him for the pre-race show before Supercross. Think he's a great dude, and I'm cheering on him.
Yeah, great guy. Of course, he's one of the nicest, friendliest guys I've ever met, especially being so successful and a champion that he is. But to your point, we have to call it like we see it. And the way I see it right now, when I watch him ride, he looks like he's on the defense all the time. He's not sure what his bike's going to do. He's not sure where he's going to go in the corner. He's not sure how to, do certain things on the bike. And a lot of that could just go back to his lack of time, like you mentioned. And that is true. So if you are Jorge or Kawasaki, you are saying, man, we have very limited time. When he first got on the motorcycle, he started riding Supercross. Oh, and by the way, he was learning Supercross and learning the bike, had an injury, came in underprepared, had another injury, now getting back on the motorcycle, a month before the season. Now he has to learn the bike as he's learning to ride motocross in these certain tracks. So he is way behind the 8 ball, but
Big time.
he's still better than what he's showing right now.
Agreed.
He's absolutely better.
I've got faith. I've got faith that he's going to show us something at some point in the next few weeks here.
Well, what could happen, Adam? And last thing on Jorge, what could happen if he doesn't start to show something is these guys like AP and not even talking Jett and Eli, but AP and Justin Cooper and Hunter and these guys, they're not even going to think he's a factor. So even when he does get a good start, they're going to be like, get out of here, man. Like, you're not even in our league. And then Jorge might start to believe that. So this is a slippery slope. The more this happens, the harder it is to climb that mountain again.
Well, they already believe that. Those guys already don't look at the 70 next to him on the starting gate and think this guy is going to challenge me. That's just how it works.
For sure.
I mean, you know that, right? So it's up to Jorge to and I really do think that he's totally capable of pulling a start and leading 10 minutes of this race this weekend. I do. I think that I think he's talented enough to where if he finds some comfort, I think he can do it. But yeah, he's going to have to prove to these guys that he belongs. And right now they just don't think that. So should we get into some fan questions here, Cole Beach?
Yes. So have the Eli mistakes, do they have something in common? Maybe bike or suspension setup? I asked because I saw several over jumps.
That's Eli, man.
Yeah.
Seen that forever. That's what makes Eli who he is obviously there's the cliche of beast mode, but that's what it is. That's overshooting stuff, plowing into stuff, drilling bumps. And that's why we talk about so much difference between him and Jett. Jett doesn't do that. He hops the bumps. He looks so light on the motorcycle where Eli is just heavy on the bike. He's heavy braking, tons of throttle, tons of clutch. So no, I don't think there's anything to it other than that's just Eli being Eli.
One of the things I noticed being teammates with Eli, my first year on a supercross track, is anytime there's an on-off on the table, off the table, he would never, unless it was in a rhythm where you had to do a 3 after, if it was coming into a turn, he would never even come close to touching the downside. And that's, like you said, JB, that's just the way he does it. I loved watching him come down the hill. We talked about it at Hangtown, but how good he is coming down the hills, like how he's able to be so strong and keep the rear on the ground. I love seeing him launch the single after you come down the top of the hill, the 2 singles that they had this year. So that's just Eli being Eli, like you said.
So let's say we give each team Red Bull F1 money. What do you think would change with an unlimited budget?
Unlimited budget?
We're just talking equipment, I guess, is what they're saying.
I would say overall, like maybe some comparison to works versus, production bikes and stuff like that. Like, I mean, obviously US has a little bit of a different rule structure with, AMA, but anything that you guys could say as far as testing, I mean, more test riders.
I think where the sport is lacking right now, and I think that's where Star is doing a great job, is developing young talent. Like it's kind of like, and now these guys with the SMX Next are able to get on a supercross track and, able to ride with the pros and all that. But it's kind of like you just go out there and do you're kind of on your own. Like there's not like a super organized developmental process. I think there's more to be done there. Like there's more structure there. There's more like, okay, if we do this, we give this young guy the best chance to succeed. Where now it's like a young guy comes in, not on Star, he's got his own trainer, like he's kind of on his own program. He lives wherever he lives. So I think there's a lot more that we can do on the developmental side. And I think teams would just put more money into the young talent, because you can afford to take the chance on them not paying out once they get to the pros. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I'll go more on the pro side. That's the one unique thing about our sport is I don't think a lot changes. I think the rider ultimately decides his fate, whether he wins or loses. And of course, the bike can make a little difference. But if you are a good enough test rider and you direct your team and you've got a great enough team around you that can make that motorcycle yours, then ultimately you can go out and feel your best and get your best result. I don't think that changes with money. Like, I don't think there's better suspension components that we could just buy and bolt on. I don't think, of course, if you're just going to get that type of money, you buy the best riders. But you also have to have a good bike. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of, okay, if Jett Lawrence is the best rider we have right now, so you go buy him. Okay, if his motorcycle right now is the best that he is on right now, what would you do to his motorcycle to make him better? I think they already have resources and access to do that. Now, yeah, I really don't know. I think maybe you could change some frames here and there. And that's what I love about our sport is I legitimately think that Jett Lawrence could go to a dealership this weekend in Pennsylvania, pick up a bone stock motorcycle and go get on the podium.
100% chance.
And you cannot do that in F1. You cannot do that in NASCAR. You cannot, name the motorsport. It is not like that. And I love that. So I don't think money necessarily it would buy you a better rider. I don't know if it's going to get you better equipment.
And I think that's a common misconception in our sport in general is yes, equipment does make it when you get to this level and the margins are so small, you do have to have everything clicking to win and to be dominant, consistently winning. But it is always going to be 80-20, 90-10 rider. Period. That's just the way it is. And I think this is another point. It's kind of a tangent at this point now, but getting your bike set up the right way that's on the rider too. If you go out there and the bike sucks, that's also your fault. That's not when I tweeted something at Hangtown about Jett's motorcycle not working the way that I just thought it was a lot of side-to-side movement, pretty unpredictable. And some people took that as I was making an excuse for Jett, right? Well, that is part of the job. You have to set the motorcycle up to allow you to go out there and do the best you can. The team can only do so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I've never subscribed to that it's blame the bike, blame the bike, blame the bike. No, look in the mirror. You're the one who had your suspension technician go that direction.
Yep.
You're the one who told your team that you wanted that engine package. So it's on you. And I think, there's a few guys that do blame the bikes more than I think they look in the mirror. And it's a unique part about our sport. Ultimately, it comes down to the rider.
And I think just the quick last note on that, I think that's a confidence thing. I think sometimes guys got to convince themselves it's the bike.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's so hard to maintain that level of I can go out there and win still. I can go out there and podium still. So I think it's almost like a fallback, just like arm pump.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what about Hymas makes him so inconsistent? Is it that his setup only works on specific tracks? Is it his mental game? Is he too start dependent? He shows he has the speed, but he's just lacking something, and I think you two give the best insight.
JB?
That's a great question right there, Cole, because that one I'm not so sure about. We touched a lot on Levi Kitchen about what's missing. I don't really think there's much missing from Levi Kitchen. I don't think there's really anything missing from Chance Hymas other than just having that killer mentality. I think that's what Hayden has. That's something that I believe you can't really teach. You think about guys like Chad Reed, obviously Ricky Carmichael, these guys like Villapoto who just had that instinct of, I'm going to win this race at all costs, no matter what. And that's what Hayden has right now. And look, Jett doesn't really come off that way, but he has that. And if Chance can get that somehow, and you can get it from getting more and more confidence, but he has the speed, he has the bike. I do think sometimes, and I'm not that close with Chance or necessarily the team, but I do think sometimes there is a little bit of a searching on the motorcycle. And I don't know if you're, especially him being so young, because typically the younger you are, you just ride it, you just go. And I don't know if he's looking for a certain feeling. I don't know if he's looking for something that doesn't exist. And to be a guy that goes out there and is just a killer and wins these races, you're going to have to ride over that, you know? And he hasn't been able to do that yet. When he feels uncomfortable, you can really know. You can know it just by watching, and then that translates to results. So until he can get over that, because you never, Adam, you know this, you won a championship. You didn't feel comfortable all those days. And there's probably days where you're like, man, my bike was not good today, but somehow, some way you found a way to go 2-1 or 3-1 on the day and win the overall. And Chance is slowly getting there, but this season is prime example. He's not quite there yet.
And I think you have to be careful with, there's some guys that I've ridden with, that I've trained with, that you listen to when their comments when they come off the motorcycle, and it makes your head hurt. You're like, dude, this is, and you know, it works for them, but I'm not sure the exact process. Obviously, whatever the Lawrence brothers do, you know, Chance is riding down with them. Whatever they do, it works. But I think just as a rider in general, and not just speaking about Chance, you just have to be careful with how much information that you allow. There's a good amount of information. There's a good amount of knowledge to have, but then there can be a point where you're kind of spinning in circles, and you're kind of always looking for something with the bike, instead of just going out there and making the best of it, riding around some of its weak spots. But I think to answer the question, I think it's the ability to adapt to the situation on any given day. You know, we've seen Hayden, you know, he was sick at Hangtown. He was sick this weekend, or even Fox Raceway. I think it was a second moto. It's like there's these times where he makes some mistakes. You know, a guy will get by him, and everything looks like it's not going to go well for him. And he adapts to the situation, figures it out, finds a way to the front. I think for guys like Chance and Levi, their bad days have to be better than they are. And that comes from, for one, an inner belief in yourself that it's going to work out no matter how uncomfortable you are, no matter how sick you are, tired you are. I think that starts with like an inner belief that there's no way I'm losing. Like there's, and maybe that mentality doesn't get you a win, but it gets you a third, it gets you a fourth. And so I think, you know, I think Deegan finds a way. Like he finds a way. And I think those guys just got to figure out how to find a way.
I watched it, I forget where it was, but years ago, Ricky Carmichael said, you do what you have to do when you have to do it. And it sums that all up. And Ricky was the best at it, right? Just whenever you had to do something, you just did it. And that's what Hayden's doing right now. And until Chance gets that, you know, championships are going to be hard to come by. Race wins, I think no problem. He's proving that. But to be a champion, it's another level.
100%.
All right. So last one, a little bit more of a general question, but thank you again to everyone who submitted them. We had a ton of them. And this Cindy wants to know, what is your take on 450s racing before 250s this weekend?
Well, I think as a 450 rider, it was always a nice little surprise. Have a little bit of a smoother track. Maybe you could catch your flight out on Saturday night. I think, you know, obviously it's 4 races on NBC this weekend, so it tends to be a live TV thing. Not exactly sure. Maybe JB, maybe you have more information than me as to why exactly they do that, but I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind them switching it up every once in a while.
Yeah, I think as a racer, it was awesome. I'm like you. It was kind of a surprise. You'd show up and be like, oh, we're first today? Oh, awesome. That's great. Track's going to be a little fresher. I'm pretty sure during Supercross, it was mainly the broadcast, but it was, you know, we talk about the stars of our sport and we show them in opening ceremonies, and then we show the line and it's 250 heat 1. And I think a fan that didn't really know a lot about the sport, they're thinking, wait, I just heard about Jett Lawrence and Eli Tomac and Chase Sexton. Where are they? Now we have totally different riders. So I think the thought was, hey, let's show them our stars of the sport right away. And I think that's really cool. I think it's
Yeah.
great. I think that's what people are tuning in to watch. Now, the one problem is you see them at the very beginning and then you don't see them till the very end, because typically in Supercross, remember, it would flip. Then the 250 main would still go first, 450 main second. So um, as far as motocross, yeah, I'm sure it's a broadcast thing. I'm assuming, but yeah, I can only really speak from as a racer in the 450 class. I always thought it was great.
I concur. I want to also just want to give a shout out SMX Insider post race show showing the women's race
That was great.
this
What
weekend.
a race.
I thought that was great. Um, it's been a long time
Hmm.
since the women got some TV time, and those girls are ripping, dude. Like
Yeah.
I know they smoothed some of the track out a little bit, but you looked at the top three, like Turner's lap times. She's pretty. They're pretty elite, and it's cool to see them get a stage. I watched their press conference, and I would just like to see more of that because there's some serious talent there, JB.
Yeah. I wonder if we accidentally ran into something that could maybe be something in the future, because I thought it was great. And I actually watched it with my wife, and Paige was like, wait, these girls are fast. Like, she didn't really know. And so I can't imagine what most, Paige is pretty connected. She's been, we've been together 15 years now. So she's been around a long time. And even she was surprised with, like, wow, these girls are really fast. So wonder if that could be something moving forward. Obviously there's a lot of logistics to that, but yeah, Charlie Cannon and Lala Turner. Lala got the win. Charlie from Australia came over here, and those two women are absolutely elite. And it was fun to see them on display. It was really, really cool.
And
I
that's the
enjoyed it. And they
challenge.
battled it out, huh? They were
They
battling the first few
they
laps.
battled it out, and seeing Stallings and Nielsen get together there for a podium right there
Yeah.
at the end. Jordan Jarvis snuck in there. It was, um, dude, I was glued to the television. That's a tough track too. I mean that track can reach up and grab
Mm.
anyone. Big jumps. So I thought they put on a great show. I thought Weege and James did great on the call there. Super exciting. And yeah, I think back in the day, I believe one of their motos was on Friday, and then one of their
Mhm.
motos would be kind of in between first and second motos on Saturday. I
Yep.
think we got away from that because of live TV. But yeah, just wanted to mention that before we wrapped up. I thought that was great to see the women out there. Would love to see more of that. Overall, great weekend of racing, JB. I think we've gone a little long on this one, huh?
It's fun once we get rolling.
Yeah.
Look, it's our favorite thing, right? We talk about it all the time. It's so fun to be a fan. You and I lived it for a long time, but now we get to sit on the other side of the fence and talk about it and bring all you viewers, listeners, some insight on what we think could potentially happen or did happen or what we would have done. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun to bring some different perspective. And um, AC, go work on that golf game, brother.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much the podcast and the golf game at this point. I'm gonna need to get my contractor in here, build some cabinets or something behind me, because I'm tired of reading these comments about nobody wants to look at your white wall. Like, I don't know, dude. I'm not building cabinets. Like, I don't know. It's such a small little box, like such a small shot too. There's only so much stuff I can do. I don't have a bunch of trophies and stuff around, so I don't know. I need to figure something out with the background. But we got the desk,
I was gonna
and
say
so
the
that's a
desk
great
is still up. It's still standing.
still standing. I did lose another bolt a couple days ago. Sat down here to take some notes, but so far still standing. And yeah, everybody, thank you for listening. I've been Justin. I don't know about you, man, but I've been surprised with the amount of views, downloads, all the stuff we've been getting. It makes it even more like I get so excited to do this, and I think more people are just kind of finding our show. Of course, we have Converge Media, got Cole Beach on the editing, making it all pretty for us. But JB, I'm excited where this thing's going.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody out there. And if there's anything else that you guys want to see or want to hear, leave it in the comments, man. We'll go through them, and maybe we'll do some more breakdowns for Mount Morris AC. We'll break some track stuff down, or yeah, let us know what you guys want to see. But it's been a ton of fun. AC, you're the man. And one last thing, you washed the bike. When are we getting it dirty again?
I think we're gonna ride this week.
Okay.
I've got a gas can. Can I put just regular unleaded gas in my motorcycle?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Try to find some 92 or 93.
Oh, so go
octane.
high octane.
High octane, yeah.
A little out of my price range, but I'll see what I can do.
Oh, come on.
All right, guys. Appreciate you, JB, Cole, all the listeners. You guys are awesome. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.